The the Hayward Shepherd statue was stored beside the city's major museum and covered with a wooden box in the 1960s. And that's one of the things we got to do before the end of the year. All right. So anyway, so being on code is really important. So they weren't just on code in terms of behavior. They were actually on code in terms of putting things into law, putting things on paper, right? And so incorporated into every aspect of the slavery system, it remained an active carrot and incentive through the social integration process, and it is still an operating principle at this present time. Meritorious Manumission recognized and rewarded blacks who accepted their assigned position, but for personal gain would thwart openly or nefariously the efforts by other blacks to alter the racial status quo. Ain't that interesting? Ain't that interesting? So think about how meritorious manumission will be applied today when you have maybe the corporate Negro who doesn't want other black people to succeed because they enjoy saying, I'm the only black person in the marketing department. Has anybody ever heard that? Let me know if you've heard this before, where there are black people who will say, Madam President, for example, who talks a lot about corporate trauma and the trauma you go through from the corporate plantation. This is very serious trauma. It does kill you. And one thing that Madam President has said consistently that I agree with is she said that I have been treated worse by some of my black managers than by some of my white ones. She said that some of the mentors I've had who really opened doors for me and helped me rise to the top, helped me succeed, they were white people. And a lot of you have mentioned this experience before. And I think that this is linked to things like meritorious manumission, because what he's saying is that there were black folks that were elevated to the top. And part of their job and their elevation was to be gatekeepers and to block others from having the same opportunity, right? So, so let's see here. He says the first person to be known to have received meritorious manumission set the baseline for benefits. Peter M. Bergman, in his book, The Chronological History of the Negro, said that, quote, the first person to receive meritorious manumission was a Negro named Will, who was recognized for having impeded a slave revolt in the South Carolina colony.